Lisa had a great question here. I think I made a hiring mistake. I hired a very part-time admin back in May who can assist my office manager and sub in for her from time to time when she goes out of town. It's taking her a long time to get comfortable with our systems, which we are still refining. I think I need someone who can be in the studio more often and really shadow my office manager. I know I didn't do the best job training her from the beginning, so I do take accountability for that, but I don't know if I should go ahead and let her go to find the right person or if I should keep working with her. So, hmm.
This is a funny one, dude, because we have a client right now who has a sort of a similar
The,
question.
and what's interesting is that she told me that your advice to her was the polar opposite of mine.
Nice.
So I think
well, this is
I
great.
think we're going to come from very different perspectives on this.
Yeah, this is going to be a great answer. Okay.
Nate, you go first because
You want me to go
I
first?
think I know what you're going to say.
Well, okay, hold on a sec. Actually, Lisa, I'm gonna go into. I'm looking at the question for our listeners on chat, so it's beneficial to me because it's a long one here. It's taking her a long time to get comfortable. Um, I need someone who can be in the studio more often and really shadow my office manager. So here's what I'd say. If we know that we've done a poor job in onboarding and training, that's step one. You have to be aware of if your system is kind of sucking anyways, and you just basically like came up short. You're like, I mean, we all know, like we know it, especially with teachers, when we're like, oh, wait, we threw that person into the classroom too quickly. They didn't actually get regular weekly check-ins, right? No wonder they're struggling and it's like late October. Okay, so we know that we could do a better job of training. You actually are already intuiting what that better job would look like, which is shadowing. So the next thing I would go say is I'm going back to Daniel's comment around investing in support. Invest in their training, basically invest in that person shadowing your office manager and say, hey, I'm going to allocate whatever, $300 to $500, knowing that all they're doing is shadowing the office manager and helping to clarify what the system is and co-create the system and get that system or that checklist down on paper. So if you have a successful version of Office Manager, then we're going to lean on that person, but we're also going to invest in that in your new hire to spend more and more time with that Office Manager, at least for like 2 to 4 weeks. So basically, if I'm missing some part of it, which is maybe one part of it, and I bet you Daniel's going to speak to this, but just guessing on this. But you're saying, wait a minute, actually, this person doesn't really have the skills needed. Like I'm getting the sense that, they're just going to come up short no matter how much training there is. Is that you're sort of nodding because I can see you on the video? Is that's actually closer to it? So the Nate solution of investment, you're like, dude, I don't want to throw like good money after bad. Is that the right phrase? I think it is. Anyways, I don't want to spend more money only to find that I'm right back where I started from. Okay, if that's the actual underlining sort of subtext of this, then I'm pinging it to Daniel to see what how he would respond. Daniel,
Well, you're making me deliver the bad news. Come on.
Yeah,
so what's interesting is that our other client thought that the polar opposite advice we gave. She thought the thing that you said is what I would say, and she thought the thing that I would say is what you would say, but it was actually the opposite. So basically, Nate's advice was like, hire fast, fire fast. And she thought I'd say that. And then my advice was to kind of dig into the nuances and be like, well, and it's kind of actually what Nate said right there. But Lisa, if what you're indicating is that you just know the writing's on the wall, you know this person isn't the person you want to work with, I'm just going to put an actionable piece of advice out there because it sounds like you already know what you need to do. It can feel bad that you have to let someone go. And that's where I want to give everyone who's listening an actionable piece of advice. And that is, you should never hire someone outright. You should hire them on a 21-day trial period.
Yes.
Kelly, this goes for you too. Since you're going to be hiring an admin soon. What I've done, and I got this from a mentor of mine, was just that you bring someone in, you train them really well in the basics, and you have a number of jobs and tasks set up for them, and you train them to do them, and then you let them go on those tasks during that 21-day trial period and just see how they perform. And they need to know that that's what it is, that they're not hired yet. Now, one could imagine, well, I'm just going to be bringing in a bunch of people on 21-day trial periods, and it's going to be, what are the odds that I'm just going to be 100% on that? That's why in the hiring process, here's another piece of actionable advice, that you actually give them some tasks to show if they fit the culture of your business. For us, what that looked like was I gave someone a fairly complex task where they had to write a system for our systems manual. And I made it one that we've already got a system for. So if someone could come in, understand how we build systems, be good enough that they could write one themselves, and then give it to us, and us look at it, compare it against the system that we already have for that process in the business, and it likely being one that they're going to be responsible for. If the system they wrote was really, really good or very, very close after they went through our process on how we do systems inside the business, they're going to be a good culture fit. And I cannot tell you the number of people where I had them do that, and I was like, oh man, they don't get this. And I just didn't even take them farther than that. Usually by the time someone got to the trial, I was pretty much sure I was going to hire them. And in only one case that I actually have to let someone go at the end of that 21-day period. And she was a disaster. So, just tons of little mistakes. I don't know how she got through, but it was like something completely different. It was like the person who showed up to do the job was very, very different from the person I took through that entire hiring process. To this day, I still don't know what happened. And it wasn't malicious on her part. But yeah. And what's great was the culture was so strong here, and she was already working with a couple of other people here, that I called a meeting with her, and I wasn't excited about having to tell her that we wasn't going to renew. And before I could even let her go, she actually quit. She's like, yeah. I don't know if I'm going to fit in here, was essentially what she said. And the two people who were also she was working with were like, I do not want to work with this person anymore. And she didn't want to work with us. So it ended up working out. When your system is so strong and the culture is so strong, sometimes these things have a way of working themselves out on their own. She knew she just couldn't hack it the way that she needed to do things around here. She felt like she was drowning. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah. Can I highlight a couple things you said, Daniel, for Lisa? Sure. First of all, Daniel said, make sure that you give them very specific tasks and then cut them loose to do it. Right? Be careful that there's not always a tether to like your office manager to you, that they're actually responsible to do it. So, back to Kelly's going to bring someone on maybe first to just answer emails for 2 hours a day or 1 hour a day. Give them the FAQ sheet. Here's how to answer them. Here's your Gmail account. You have access to all my email. Answer them. But then let them answer them, and then you got to let them do it, okay? And I don't mean for like 24 or 48 hours. I mean like a week. The second thing I want to say is that it's vital that they actually have a mentor that that's training them, that's invested in their success. So coming back and checking in regularly with them. So one of the things I have to do, because I'm just like too scattered to actually show up consistently, unless I put it on my schedule, is when we bring on someone new, one of the things I do is I have like meet and greet lunches with new faculty. It's like, I just got to put that sucker on the schedule, even if it's 3 months from now. Lunch with Natalie. Because that way I'm already committed to that person.